I'm Sarah Mitchell, 46 years old, and I've lived in this rural Montana cabin for the past 3 years after my divorce. The isolation heals me. Nothing but pine trees, mountain air, and wildlife that keeps a respectful distance. Until that Tuesday morning when everything changed. I was drinking coffee on my porch when I saw her. A bobcat, standing at the edge of my property, maybe 30 feet away. Beautiful creature, tawny fur with dark spots, tufted ears, intense amber eyes. She wasn't behaving like a normal wild animal. Most bobcats flee at the first sight of humans. This one was staring directly at me. My first thought was rabies. I'd been warned about sick wildlife approaching humans. But she didn't seem aggressive or disoriented. Just purposeful. She took a few steps toward me, stopped, looked at me, then back toward the tree line. Then she did it again. Step. Stop. Look at me, look back. "You want something, girl?" I said softly, knowing how ridiculous I sounded talking to a wild predator. But there was something in her behavior that felt communicative, almost desperate. She meowed, a sound I didn't know bobcats could make, plaintive and urgent. I stayed still, watching her pattern repeat. Step toward me, stop, look at me, look back toward the forest, meow. It was deliberate, systematic. She was trying to tell me something. I'd read stories about animals seeking human help, but I'd always dismissed them as embellished folklore. Now I wasn't so sure. The bobcat came closer, now only 20 feet away, close enough that I could see her ribs showing slightly through her fur, see the exhaustion in her eyes. She meowed again, louder this time, more insistent. Then she did something that made my heart stop. She turned and walked a few steps toward the forest, stopped, and looked back at me expectantly. She wanted me to follow her. A wild bobcat was asking me to follow her into the woods. Every rational part of my brain screamed danger. But something deeper, some instinct I didn't know I had, told me this was important. This was life or death. Just not mine. I went inside and grabbed my heavy jacket, my phone, and a first aid kit. Not sure what I'd need, but knowing I needed something. My hands shook as I pulled on hiking boots. What was I doing? Following a wild predator into the forest? This was how people got hurt. Or worse. But when I stepped back outside, the bobcat was still there, waiting. The moment she saw me, she walked toward the trees, pausing every few steps to look back, ensuring I was following. I was. Against all better judgment, I was. The forest was dense, the morning sun filtering through pine needles and scattered beams. The bobcat moved with purpose through terrain I found challenging, over fallen logs, through thick underbrush. She kept checking that I was keeping up, slowing when I fell behind. We'd been walking for maybe 15 minutes when doubt crept in. What if this was some kind of trap? Did bobcats even do that? Was I being led to her den where her mate waited? My rational mind battled with the intuition that had gotten me this far. The bobcat stopped suddenly, meowing urgently. We were in a small clearing. Nothing remarkable about it except... Then I heard it. A tiny mewing sound, weak and pitiful. Not from the adult bobcat. From somewhere nearby. The adult moved to a thick bramble of bushes and disappeared underneath. The mewing got louder, more insistent. Multiple voices now. Baby cries. Oh God. Kittens. She had kittens somewhere in there. I approached carefully, pulling back branches to peer into the natural den she'd created. 3 tiny bobcat kittens huddled together, maybe 3 weeks old, their eyes recently opened. They were crying, and when I looked closer, I understood why. One of the kittens was trapped. A broken branch had pinned its tiny paw, the sharp wood piercing through. The kitten was crying in pain, unable to free itself. The mother hadn't been asking for food. She'd been asking for help to save her baby. I broke down right there, tears streaming down my face. This wild mother had overcome every instinct to avoid humans, had risked approaching a potential threat, had led me through the forest because she knew, somehow she knew, that I might be able to help her baby. Okay, Mama. Okay. I'll help. I'll help your baby. I spoke to her like she could understand, and maybe on some level she could. She watched me with those intense amber eyes, and I swear I saw trust there. Trust that went against millions of years of evolution. I pulled out my phone. No signal, of course. We were too deep in the forest. I was on my own. I assessed the situation carefully. The branch had impaled the kitten's paw, but not completely through. If I could lift the branch gently and ease the paw out, I might be able to free it without causing more damage. But the challenge was the mother. Would she let me touch her baby? Bobcats were fierce mothers, known to defend their young viciously. I'd seen videos of them fighting off bears to protect their kittens. What if she attacked me when I reached for her baby? I looked at her. I need to touch your baby. I need to help. Please trust me. She meowed softly, then did something that astounded me. She stepped back, actually moved away from her kittens, giving me space. It was permission. Clear, unmistakable permission. My hands trembled as I reached into the den. The trapped kitten cried louder, and the mother tensed but didn't move toward me. I whispered soothing words I didn't think anyone was listening to, but they calmed me as much as hopefully calmed them. The branch was wedged at an angle. I'd need to lift it carefully while supporting the kitten's weight so its paw didn't tear further. I positioned my hands, took a deep breath, and began. The kitten screamed, a sound that tore at my heart. The mother growled low, a warning, her maternal instinct warring with her trust. I know, I'm so sorry. Almost there. I lifted the branch millimeter by millimeter, my muscles straining, sweat dripping despite the cool morning air. The kitten's paw was caught on a sharp splinter. If I pulled wrong, I could sever it completely. Come on, baby. Work with me. With infinite slowness, I angled the branch up and to the left. The paw slipped free. The kitten tumbled into my hands, crying but free. The kitten's paw was bleeding, the puncture wound deep but clean. The little creature was shaking, crying, clearly in shock and pain. I needed to stop the bleeding and protect the wound from infection, but I had limited supplies and no veterinary knowledge. I pulled out my first aid kit, designed for human injuries, but adaptable. The mother bobcat moved closer now, watching intently as I worked on her baby. I half expected her to snatch the kitten away, but she didn't. She watched, trusting this strange human to help in ways she couldn't. Okay, little one, this is going to sting. I pulled out antiseptic wipes, knowing this would hurt but was necessary. The kitten screamed when the antiseptic touched the wound. The mother growled again, but still she held back, showing restraint that defied everything I knew about wild animals. I wrapped the tiny paw in gauze, making sure it was snug but not too tight. The last thing I wanted was to cut off circulation. The kitten was so small, maybe the size of my hand, its paw even tinier. I worried I was wrapping it wrong, doing more harm than good. But when I finished and gently placed the kitten back with its siblings, something remarkable happened. The mother approached me, close enough that I could feel her breath. She sniffed my hands, my jacket, looked directly into my eyes. Then she did something that made me start crying again. She rubbed her head against my knee. Just once, quick and soft, but unmistakable. It was thanks. Gratitude from a wild creature to a human who'd helped her baby. I wanted to stay, to make sure the kitten would be okay. But I knew my presence was stressful despite the mother's tolerance. I need to go get real help. Professional help. Will you let me come back with a vet? She stared at me, and I chose to interpret it as yes. I stood slowly, backing away from the den. The mother moved between me and her kittens, protecting them now that the immediate crisis was over. But she didn't flee. She watched me leave, and I swear there was something in her eyes that said she'd recognize me if I came back. I marked the path as I went, breaking branches and stacking rocks, creating a trail I could follow back. I practically ran back to my cabin, my mind racing with what I'd just experienced. I needed to get help, but who? The nearest town was 20 miles away. The nearest vet was even farther. And would anyone even believe me? Yes, hello. I followed a wild bobcat into the forest and performed first aid on her kitten. Can you help? I drove to town, my truck rattling over dirt roads, rehearsing how I'd explain this without sounding insane. The veterinary clinic was small, run by Dr. Emma Chen, a woman maybe 10 years younger than me who'd moved here from Seattle for the slower pace. Dr. Chen, I need help with an injured bobcat kitten. The words tumbled out before I'd even fully entered the clinic. She looked up from her computer, eyebrows raised. A bobcat kitten? Did you find it abandoned? No. The mother is still with it. She came to me for help. I explained everything. The bobcat approaching my cabin, leading me into the forest, the trapped kitten, the mother allowing me to treat her baby. Dr. Chen listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from skepticism to fascination. That's extraordinary. Bobcats don't do that. They avoid humans at all costs. I know. But she did. And the kitten needs proper medical care. The wound could get infected. I don't know if I wrapped it right. Will you come with me? Dr. Chen hesitated. Sarah, I believe you're telling the truth as you experienced it. But approaching a wild bobcat with her kittens is incredibly dangerous. The mother might have tolerated you in a moment of desperation, but she won't let me near her babies. She will. I know it sounds crazy, but she will. She knows we're trying to help. Something in my voice must have convinced her. Or maybe she was just curious enough to see if this impossible story could be true. Okay, let me grab supplies. If, and this is a big if, we can get close enough to examine the kitten, I'll need antibiotics, proper bandaging, and possibly pain medication. We loaded her truck with veterinary supplies and drove back to my cabin. I led her into the forest, following my marked trail. My heart pounded with worry. What if the mother had moved her kittens? What if she'd decided humans were too dangerous and fled deeper into the wilderness? But when we reached the clearing, she was still there. The mother bobcat emerged from the den when she heard us approaching, positioning herself protectively in front of her babies. Dr. Chen froze when she saw the bobcat. Oh my God, she's right there. She's not running. I told you, I whispered. She wants help. The mother bobcat looked at me, then at Dr. Chen, assessing this new human. I could see the tension in her body, the instinct to flee or fight warring with the need to help her injured baby. I approached slowly, speaking softly. Hey mama, it's me. I brought help. A real doctor for your baby. She's going to make sure your little one is okay. Dr. Chen whispered behind me. Sarah, this is insane. She could attack any second. But she won't. Watch. I knelt down 10 feet from the den, making myself smaller, less threatening. The mother bobcat watched me intently. Then, just like before, she stepped back, giving permission, allowing access to her most precious possessions, her babies. Dr. Chen's sharp intake of breath told me she understood the magnitude of what we were witnessing. Can you get the injured one out? Dr. Chen asked, her voice shaking slightly. I reached into the den, the mother allowing it, and gently lifted the kitten I'd helped earlier. Its tiny paw was still wrapped in my amateur bandaging, now spotted with dried blood. The kitten mewed weakly, exhausted from pain and stress. Doctor. Chen went to work with professional efficiency, unwrapping my gauze, examining the wound, cleaning it properly with veterinary-grade antiseptic. The puncture is deep but clean. You actually did a good job with the first aid. You might have saved this paw by acting so quickly. She injected the kitten with antibiotics and pain medication, then rewrapped the paw with proper veterinary bandaging. The whole process took maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. The mother bobcat watched every second, occasionally moving closer as if to intervene, then stopping herself, trusting us. When Dr. Chen finished, I placed the kitten back with its siblings. It immediately snuggled against them, the pain medication clearly helping. "I'll need to check on this kitten regularly, daily for at least a week," Dr. Chen said, still staring in disbelief at the scene. "Do you think she'll let us?" The mother bobcat answered by doing that same head rub against my leg that she'd done before. Then, to Dr. Chen's absolute amazement, she approached the vet and did the same to her. "I can't believe this," Dr. Chen whispered. "In all my years as a vet, I've never seen anything like this." For the next week, Dr. Chen and I visited the bobcat family daily. Each time, the mother allowed us to examine the injured kitten, check the wound, change bandages. She even started bringing the kitten to us, carrying it by the scruff and placing it at our feet, understanding that we were there to help. The other 2 kittens grew bolder too, playing near us while their mother watched. Dr. Chen documented everything: photos, videos, detailed notes. This could be published in wildlife journals. This kind of human-animal trust, especially with a species as solitary as bobcats, is unprecedented. But I didn't care about publications or recognition. I cared about these kittens, about their mother who'd been brave enough to ask for help. The injured kitten improved rapidly. By day 5, it was putting weight on its paw. By day 7, it was playing with its siblings, though still favoring the injured foot slightly. Dr. Chen declared it healed enough that we could reduce visits to every other day, then weekly. "You saved this kitten's paw, possibly its life. Without treatment, that wound could have become infected, caused sepsis. The kitten would have died." The words hit me hard. That tiny creature, now tumbling and playing with its siblings, would have died. And the mother had known, somehow, that humans could help. On our 10th visit, the mother bobcat did something that made both Dr. Chen and me cry. She brought all 3 kittens out of the den and sat them in front of us. Then she stepped back, lay down, and watched. It was a presentation. "These are my babies. Thank you for saving them. You may admire them." Dr. Chen and I sat cross-legged on the forest floor, 3 tiny bobcat kittens climbing over us, playing with our shoelaces, batting at our hands with soft paws. The mother watched, relaxed, trusting us completely with her most precious possessions. "This is the most incredible moment of my professional career," Dr. Chen whispered. "Maybe of my entire life." I understood exactly what she meant. Here in this forest clearing, surrounded by wild creatures who'd chosen to trust us, I felt a connection to something larger than myself. This was beyond human and animal. This was soul recognizing soul, need meeting compassion, trust transcending species. I thought about my own life, the divorce that had driven me to isolation, the pain I'd been nursing in my mountain cabin. I'd come here to escape people, to heal alone. But this bobcat mother had reminded me that connection matters. 3 weeks into our visits, I arrived at the clearing alone. Dr. Chen had an emergency with a farmer's horse and couldn't make it. I expected the mother bobcat to be cautious with me solo, but she greeted me like an old friend. The kittens were growing fast now, each about twice the size they'd been when I first saw them. The injured one showed almost no signs of its trauma, just a small scar on its paw that would fade with time. But something was different today. The mother was agitated, pacing. The kittens were hidden in the den, which was unusual. They normally came out to play. "What's wrong, Mama?" I asked, looking around the clearing for signs of danger. She approached me, meowed urgently, and then, just like that first day, looked toward a different part of the forest and back at me. She wanted me to follow again. My heart rate spiked. What now? Were there more injured kittens? A threat to her den? I pulled out my phone to call Dr. Chen. But there was still no signal. I was alone with whatever this was. The bobcat led me deeper into the forest, moving faster than before, clearly distressed. We walked for maybe 10 minutes before I heard it. Whimpering. Dog whimpering. In a ravine partially hidden by fallen trees, I found a young German shepherd, maybe 8 months old, trapped. Its collar was caught on a broken branch, and it had clearly been there for some time. The dog was dehydrated, exhausted, terrified. When it saw me, it tried to bark but could only manage weak whines. I stared at the bobcat in disbelief. She'd brought me to help another animal. Not her own species, but a dog. A species that would normally be her enemy. She'd heard it in distress and thought, "The human can help. I'll bring the human." I started crying again. "You're incredible. You're the most incredible creature I've ever known." The bobcat sat nearby while I worked to free the dog. The collar was twisted around the branch in a way that had been slowly choking the poor animal. I had to cut it off with my pocket knife, talking softly to the terrified dog the whole time. When I finally freed it, the dog collapsed, too weak to stand. I gave it water from my bottle, which it lapped desperately. Then I sat there, a wild bobcat on one side, a half-dead domestic dog on the other, wondering how my life had become so surreal. I couldn't carry the German shepherd out. It was too large, probably 60 pounds even in its emaciated state. I needed to bring help to it, but leaving it alone felt wrong. That's when the bobcat did something that defied everything I knew about wild predators. She walked over to the dog and lay down beside it. The dog, too weak to be afraid, just accepted her presence. She was keeping it warm, I realized. Keeping it company until I could return with help. "I'll be back as fast as I can. I promise." I ran through the forest, marking my path, pushing through exhaustion and branches that tore at my clothes. When I reached my cabin, I called Dr. Chen and explained the situation. She arrived within the hour with a portable stretcher and IV fluids. Together, we navigated back to the ravine. The bobcat was still there, still lying next to the dog, almost like she was guarding it. The dog's tail wagged weakly when it saw me return. We got IV fluids into the dog immediately, and then loaded it onto the stretcher. The bobcat watched us work, and when we started carrying the dog out, she followed. All the way back to the clearing where her kittens were. She walked alongside us like an escort. At her den, she stopped, meowed once, a farewell, and returned to her babies. Dr. Chen and I carried the dog to her truck and drove to the clinic. "Sarah, I've been a veterinarian for 15 years. I've seen a lot of things. But a wild bobcat leading a human to rescue a dog, then guarding the dog until help arrived? That's impossible. Except we both just saw it happen. The German shepherd belonged to a family who'd reported it missing a week ago. They'd been hiking nearby when the dog ran off chasing a rabbit and never returned. The family's tears of joy when we called them matched mine when I'd first freed the bobcat kitten. Over the next few days, as the dog recovered at Dr. Chen's clinic, I visited the bobcat family daily. The mother seemed content, the kittens thriving. The injured one was completely healed, playing as roughly as its siblings. But I couldn't stop thinking about what the mother had taught me. She'd bridged a gap that shouldn't have been bridgeable. She'd seen suffering and acted to alleviate it, even when that suffering belonged to a creature that wasn't her own kind. 6 weeks after that first encounter, the bobcat kittens were nearly ready to leave their mother and establish their own territories. I'd been privileged to watch them grow, to see them develop their hunting skills, to witness their mother's patient teaching. Dr. Chen and I reduced our visits to weekly, knowing the family needed independence. On what would be one of our last visits, I sat with the mother bobcat while her kittens played. She'd become comfortable with me in a way that still seemed miraculous. I could sit within feet of her, and she'd relax, occasionally making soft chirping sounds. "You changed my life, you know," I told her, knowing she couldn't understand the words but hoping she'd understand the tone. "I came to these mountains to hide from the world, from people, from connection. I thought I wanted to be alone. But you showed me something different. I thought about the past 6 weeks, working with Dr. Chen, meeting the German Shepherd's grateful family, even the handful of town residents who'd heard about the Bobcat Whisperer and stopped by my cabin to hear the story. You showed me that connection is what makes us alive, that asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage, that trust can exist across any divide if we're brave enough to offer it. The mother bobcat looked at me with those amber eyes, and I swear she understood. Maybe not the specific words, but the gratitude behind them. I'd started volunteering at Dr. Chen's clinic, helping with wildlife rehabilitation cases. I'd reconnected with my daughter, who I'd been estranged from since the divorce. I'd started writing again, something I'd abandoned years ago. The bobcat had rescued me as much as I'd rescued her kitten. She'd pulled me out of my own trap of isolation and reminded me that life required connection, vulnerability, trust. Dr. Chen arrived for our visit, bringing news. I submitted our documentation to a wildlife journal. They want to publish it. This is the first documented case of a wild bobcat repeatedly seeking human help and then extending that to helping another species. It's unprecedented. Will they want to study her? Capture her? I asked, suddenly protective. No. Just the documentation. The location stays secret. She and her kittens stay wild and free. This is just about sharing that this kind of interspecies cooperation is possible. I felt relief wash over me. The last thing I wanted was for our friend to become a research subject. 8 weeks after our first meeting, the kittens left. We witnessed it on what we knew would be our last visit. The mother led each kitten to a different part of the forest, showing them their new territories. The injured one, the one I'd freed from the branch, was last. The mother brought it to where I was sitting, and for just a moment, all 3 of us were together. The kitten, now nearly full-grown, sniffed my hand. Then it rubbed against me, just like its mother had done so many times. It was saying goodbye. Thank you. I saved your life, and you saved mine. Then the young bobcat walked into the forest with its mother, and I knew I'd never see it again. These were wild creatures returning to wild lives, as they should. The mother returned alone an hour later. She approached me one final time, did that head rub against my leg that I'd come to cherish, then walked into the forest. I waited for hours, but she didn't come back. This den was abandoned now, her maternal duties complete, her kittens independent. She'd moved on to the next phase of her life. I cried the whole way back to my cabin. Not sad tears exactly, but complicated ones. Gratitude, loss, joy, melancholy all mixed together. That evening, Dr. Chen came by with wine and we sat on my porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains pink and gold. I keep thinking about what she taught us, I said. That connection across difference is possible. That helping others helps ourselves. That trust is a gift we can choose to give. She reminded us why we do what we do. Dr. Chen agreed. I became a vet because I wanted to help animals, but somewhere along the way, it became just a job. She made me remember the wonder of it all. We sat in comfortable silence, 2 women who'd been brought together by a wild creature's desperate courage. We'd become friends through this experience, bonding over something extraordinary. Do you think we'll ever see her again? I asked. Dr. Chen smiled. Maybe. If she needs help, I think she knows where to find you. The thought warmed me. Somewhere in these mountains was a bobcat mother who'd learned that not all humans were threats, who'd bridged a gap between wild and domestic, who'd saved not just her kitten, but also a dog, and in her own way, me too. The story of the bobcat spread beyond our small town. The journal publication led to news articles, then a short documentary produced by a wildlife filmmaker who interviewed Dr. Chen and me. We were careful never to reveal the exact location. The mother and her kittens deserved their privacy and safety, but the story resonated with people. We received letters from around the world, people sharing their own experiences of unexpected animal encounters. of moments when wild creatures had trusted them, of times when helping an animal had healed something in themselves. One letter particularly moved me. It was from a woman in Oregon who'd been considering suicide. She'd read about the bobcat on a particularly dark day and realized that if a wild animal could trust and seek help, maybe she could too. She'd called a crisis hotline, started therapy, and was writing to tell us she was still alive because of a story about a bobcat's courage. I thought about that often. How one desperate mother's decision to approach a human had created ripples extending farther than any of us could have imagined. I started giving talks at schools about wildlife respect, about the importance of preserving wild spaces, about how kindness toward animals reflected our better natures. Dr. Chen expanded her clinic to include a wildlife rehabilitation center, funded partially by donations that came in after the documentary aired. My daughter visited for Thanksgiving, our first holiday together in 3 years. We hiked to the clearing where I'd first helped the bobcat kitten. The den was empty now, reclaimed by nature, but the memory lingered. "Mom, I'm proud of you," my daughter said. "Not just for helping the bobcat, for letting the bobcat help you, for opening yourself up again after the divorce. I know that was hard." She was right. The divorce had closed me off, made me cynical, driven me into isolation. The bobcat had been the key that unlocked all of that, reminding me that trust and connection were worth the risk of being hurt. Winter came to the mountains. I settled into a new rhythm, working at Dr. Bao Chen's clinic 3 days a week, writing the rest of the time, staying connected with my daughter, even carefully dating a kind widower I'd met at the wildlife center. Sometimes, hiking in the forest, I'd see bobcat tracks in the snow and wonder if they were hers. I'd never know for sure, but I like to imagine her out there, healthy and wild and free, maybe even with new kittens of her own. 1 year to the day after the mother bobcat first approached my cabin, I was drinking coffee on my porch when I saw movement at the tree line. My heart stopped. A bobcat emerged from the forest, amber eyes fixed on me. It was smaller than the mother had been, younger. It approached my porch, and when it came into full sunlight, I saw the scar. A small scar on its right front paw. The injured kitten, now nearly full-grown, independent, living its wild life. But it had come back. It sat at the edge of my porch, 15 feet away, and looked at me. We stared at each other for a long moment, recognition flowing between us. Then it did something that made tears stream down my face. It held up its right paw, the scarred one, as if showing me, "Look, I'm okay. You saved me, and I'm okay." I laughed and cried simultaneously. "You're beautiful. You're perfect. I'm so happy to see you thriving." The young bobcat sat there for maybe 5 minutes, just being present with me. Then it turned and walked back into the forest, wild and free and whole. It didn't need help this time. It had just come to say thank you, to show me it was alive because of one moment of cross-species compassion. I called Dr. Chen immediately, barely able to speak through my tears. It came back. The injured kitten came back. She arrived within an hour, and we sat together on my porch, watching the forest, hoping for another glimpse, but knowing we'd been given enough. The visit was the gift. That evening, I finished writing the book I'd been working on, the full story of the bobcat mother and her kittens, of trust and healing and connection. I dedicated it to a brave mother who taught me that asking for help is the most courageous thing we can do, and that sometimes the greatest rescues are the ones we don't expect. The book would be published the following year, reaching millions of readers. But sitting on my porch that night, watching stars emerge over the mountains, I realized the audience didn't matter. The story had already done its work. On me, on Dr. Chen, on everyone it had touched. I thought I'd come to these mountains to be alone. I thought isolation was healing. But a desperate bobcat mother had taught me something more important. Connection is what heals us. Trust is what saves us. And sometimes, the creatures we help end up helping us far more than we ever helped them. The mother bobcat had approached my cabin wanting one thing: help for her injured baby. But what she'd given me was immeasurable: purpose, connection, hope, and the reminder that even in our darkest moments, even when we think we're completely alone, help is possible if we're brave enough to ask for it. That's what I think about now when I see bobcat tracks in the forest or hear their calls in the distance. I think about courage, both the mother's courage to approach a human and my courage to follow her into the unknown. I think about trust, her trust in me and my trust in her. And I think about healing, the kitten's paw, yes, but also my own heart, broken by divorce and isolation, mended by connection and purpose. I thought the bobcat wanted food when she first approached. When I discovered the real reason, that she wanted help saving her baby, and unknowingly help saving me too, I broke down. But those tears were different from the ones I'd cried in my first months in these mountains. Those early tears were from pain and loss. These tears were from joy and gratitude, and the overwhelming recognition that we're all connected, humans and animals alike, all of us struggling, surviving, and sometimes, if we're very lucky, finding exactly the help we need from the most unexpected sources. The bobcat is out there now, somewhere in these mountains. The mother with new kittens, perhaps, the rescued one establishing its own territory, all of them wild and free. And I'm here, no longer hiding from the world but engaging with it, all because a wild creature was brave enough to ask a human for help. That's the story. That's the miracle. And I will carry it with me for the rest of my life.